Zohran Mamdani's wife, Rama Douaji, liked a post calling October 7th a mass rape hoax. That was only one of more than 70 anti-Israel posts I found liked by Mamdani's wife. One post from October 9th, 2023, just 2 days after October 7th, characterized the terrorist attack as a defensive action against a, quote, system of oppression.
There is still no evidence of mass rapes on October 7th. But with that in mind, Olivia Reingold, an Israeli propagandist, or a propagandist for the Israeli government, to be specific, who works for the Free Press, where she belongs, just keeps posting her L's. So after publishing a piece denying famine in genocide and genocide in Gaza, she shifted her attention to obsessively stalking the New York City mayor's wife and her activity on social media. Like, is this what journalism is supposed to be now? You're stalking someone online to see what kind of posts they like. And what's amazing to me, Cenk, is that the posts that she's whining about aren't even that bad. And I'll give you an example when we come back from your 2 cents.
Yeah, so there's 2 parts to this. One is, can you believe anyone would be anti-Israel in the middle of a genocide and endless wars that Israel has started? Obviously, they must be anti-Semites and you should hate them and cancel them. And secondly, remember, hate all the Muslims. You're gonna see later in this segment a CNN panel where everyone agrees it's all the Muslims' fault. Make sure you hate the Muslims so Israel can get endless wars against who? Oh, their Muslim neighbors. Tell us more, Anna.
So look, before we show you more of her panic attack over the mayor's wife liking posts on social media that Olivia disagrees with, let's actually take a look at what she posted on social media about her story. She says, I found 70 plus posts liked by Rama Douaji, Zohran Mamdani's wife, of radical anti-Israel content and even Holocaust inversion. Okay, the reason why I wanted to show you that post is because Ryan Grimm, an actual journalist, responded to Reingold's revelations to say, you are a disgrace to our profession. I agree, although I wouldn't quite put her in the same category of work as someone like Ryan Grimm. Now, with that in mind, let's get to some more of Reingold's freak out over what Zohran Mamdani's wife is liking on social media.
Many of the posts traffic in anti-Semitic themes, including Holocaust inversion. One post liked by Douaji refers to a controversial Israeli prison as a, quote, concentration camp. This is what the post says. The concentration camp has a singular aim to exterminate Palestinians and destroy their resistance.
Yeah, honestly, the post that's making Reingold clutch her pearls as hard as she's clutching them, it didn't even go as far as I would have liked to describe the absolute depravity and inhumane acts that are carried out in the Sde Temen prison. If you're unfamiliar with that prison, it happens to be it used to be a military base that they converted into a detention camp for Palestinians after October 7th. And that also happens to be where the IDF soldiers gang raped a Palestinian detainee. We'll get back to that in just a minute. But here's how the Israeli human rights organizations describe the detention camp. Take a look.
We've been hearing stories of sexual assault, of intimidation, of torture. This has led the Israeli Human Rights Organization of B'Tselem to release a report called Welcome to Hell, in reference to Sde Temen and other Israeli detention and prison centers where Palestinians after the war have been subjected to horrendous practices by the Israeli forces. A lot of the detainees who've been arrested were held under what Israel calls the unlawful combatants law, which is illegal in the international law, which allows Israel to hold Palestinians with no rights whatsoever up to 45 days without anyone knowing where they are or what's happening with them or under what legal ground they're being held under.
Meaning they are hostages. They are not charged with crimes. They never stand trial. they're just gathered up, blindfolded, by the way, and thrown into a detention camp. Sounds familiar, doesn't it, Rheingold? But as I mentioned earlier, this happened to be the detention camp where the Palestinian detainee was gang raped by IDF soldiers. It was all caught on surveillance. And we learned that Israel has decided to drop all charges against the IDF soldiers because gang raping a Palestinian detainee is totally okay in Israeli society. So let's take a look at the next video so you understand how disgusting this is.
Footage of the attack was leaked to Israel's Channel 12 News.
It shows Israeli soldiers dragging and allegedly sexually abusing a Palestinian prisoner, hiding their actions behind riot shields.
But video evidence of the assault has not yet led to justice for the victim of abuse. Instead, a criminal investigation was launched into who leaked the video. Late last month, Major General Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi, the person who investigated the original attack, resigned, admitting she released it.
Major General Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi resigned, saying she took full responsibility for the leak. She's now being detained on suspicion of obstruction of justice and breach of trust.
Some of the accused reservists appeared outside the Supreme Court in Jerusalem. Hiding their faces with the black balaclavas, they demanded the dismissal of their trial.
Instead of a hug, we got accusations. Instead of thanks, we got silence.
They gang raped a Palestinian detainee on camera. Reports indicate that they used a knife to anally rape him. So let's go back to the post that Zohran Mamdani's wife liked that Rheingold is so upset about. This is what it said. Sted Temin is a Zionist black site, a concentration camp located 18 miles from the Gaza Strip. Palestinian men presumed to be part of the resistance are captured from Gaza by the Israeli occupation forces, blindfolded, handcuffed, humiliated, and beaten by prison guards. The post didn't go far enough, Olivia. It didn't go far enough.
Yeah.
You are a bad person, okay? Terrible person, bottom of the barrel. You are not a journalist. You are a propagandist for genociders. Yeah. Go ahead, Cenk.
So first, obviously Israel approves of gang raping Palestinians. That's why they dropped the charges. I mean, that's a stone cold fact now, it's empirical. So they're on tape, there's no question they did it. And Israel goes, oh, you raped Palestinians? Kind of a mass rape there, right? A gang rape is kind of a mass rape. That's great, we love it. You're free to go. Congratulations. Oh, the guy, the person, I should say, the woman who turned them in, a good Israeli. There are good Israelis, like Oskar Schindler, and was a good German. And they're trying to just have some modicum of morality and decency inside Israel. And I love them for it, and they're good people. And they're like, no, put her in prison. She's letting everyone else know that we like to rape Palestinians. Meanwhile, when October 7th happened, let's just say that they raped everyone. Do you have evidence of that? No, who cares? Shut up, anti-Semites. Okay, now look, there's allegations were there any sexual assaults on October 7th? I'm not getting into that debate, okay? So you could go look it up online, see what allegations exist, what was verified and what was not verified. But this idea that there was like mass rape, right? They just came in and raping everyone. That's the kind of stuff. And then there was also other lies about how
they beheaded babies, right? What happened to the beheaded babies? What happened to the babies that they allegedly put in ovens? Remember that lie?
Yeah, sounds like Holocaust inversion. Anyways, we're gonna figure out what the hell that means in a second. So all this gigantic amount of propaganda. Oh, remember how evil Muslims are. And then Israel does 70 October 7ths in Gaza. And they're like, oh, that's totally fine. They're just Palestinians. Then Israeli guards rape Palestinians. They're like, yeah, but they're just Palestinians. They're not really humans, right? But you're worried about bigotry? No, you're not. You love bigotry. All those Israeli supporters like Rheingold and her boss Barry Weiss and Jonah Goldberg and Jake Tapper we're about to show you, they're disgusting bigots who love to drive hatred towards Muslims so we don't mind murdering them with American dollars and American forces. That's their whole point. So wait, what we heard about the Israeli hostages nonstop, and that makes sense. I wanted those hostages returned, right? But as Anna told you, and we've been telling you all along, the Israelis take thousands of hostages. They never try them. They go do these giant sweeps. They don't have any evidence that they're part of Hamas. And they wait and they go, okay, now we'll trade them for different things, okay? All right, and did American media go nuts over all the hostages Israel took? Way more than Hamas. Nope, shh. If you say it, we're gonna call you an anti-Semite and eliminate you from the national conversation, okay? So that's their, but a Holocaust inversion, I was like, what is that? What does that mean? So she just explained it there. What it is they say, if you accuse the Israelis of doing anything that is akin to what happened in the Holocaust or any genocide, then you're doing Holocaust inversion.
Okay, great. I'm doing Holocaust inversion because Israel is carrying out genocide and Holocaust.
Yeah, so but
big
Anna,
deal. Go ahead and call me whatever you want. I'm not gonna live in a fantasy world with magical thinking where the Israelis are not capable of doing anything bad because they're God tier people who are just above everything. They get treated with double standards where everyone else would be demonized. Any other society would be demonized, justly demonized, for behaving in the way the Israelis are behaving. But for some reason, you're not allowed to criticize the Israelis for behaving like barbaric animals. And yes, I'm talking about the government and the military, but quite frankly, the majority of Israeli society wanted to back up the IDF soldiers who were seen on that footage gang raping someone.
And they support the atrocities and genocide that happened in Gaza, and 82% of them support killing over 1,000 innocent people in Iran. They love it and they want more and more and more war, more. And of course, America has to fight it. America has to pay for it, et cetera. But so wait, under this dirty trick of this new propaganda thing of Holocaust inversion, well then couldn't Israel do a genocide or 2 or 10 genocides or even a Holocaust? And the minute you legitimately criticize them for something they are doing, like the rape that we just saw, like the tens of thousands murdered in Gaza, they go, oh no, you're not allowed to criticize me for doing a genocide because I came up with a cute propaganda trick called Holocaust inversion. So that means we get to do any genocide we want. If we want, we could do a Holocaust. We could do anything we want. Because if you legitimately tell people what we're doing and it's factual, we'll just say Holocaust inversion. And so that way we get out of jail free card and do as many genocides as we like. And of course, make America pay for it. And last thing, Anna, she talked about, can you believe that Mamdani's wife talked about fighting systems of oppression in Israel?
Yeah, I can definitely believe it.
Yeah, what do you think keeping 5.5 million Palestinians as your prisoners for 58 brutal years is? Okay, I don't know what to call it. Like I call the Israeli prisons where they kidnap and take hostage innocent Palestinians and abuse them, humiliate them and rape them. I call them gulags because they are most definitely gulags. I don't know what to call the occupied territories. It's too clean a term. Are they open air camps? Are they concentration camps? What? Because if you object to Israel, you get slaughtered in those camps, right? And now Israel has reclosed the borders of Gaza and they're back to starving the Palestinians.
Not according to Reingold. According to Reingold, even though Gaza has been razed, it's been leveled, there's no famine going on in Gaza. The fine people of Gaza can just leave their tents and walk over to their local shuk, as Dershowitz likes to call it, and buy themselves a little Sammy, right, Reingold? God, these people disgust me. She's disgusting, okay, absolutely disgusting. But you know what's also disgusting? When Jake Tapper decides to signal boost this gross propaganda. Take a look.
The 1-year anniversary of detention, Rama and I were honored to welcome Mahmoud, meaning Mahmoud Khalil, Noor and their son Dean to Gracie Mansion to break our fast together. It is Ramadan. Mahmoud is a New Yorker and he belongs in New York City, unquote. Now you might remember Mahmoud Khalil as the anti-Israel protester from Columbia University, to say the least.
He was exercising his First Amendment rights. I get the talking point. Part of my problem is that we live in a culture now that the second you're describing discriminated against or face state action because of your First Amendment right exercises, that makes you a martyr, makes you kind of a hero. This guy's not a hero, he's a putz. This comes on the heel of this other controversy of Zohran Mandani's wife being revealed to have liked a whole bunch of social media posts saying that the mass rapes were all a hoax and that Hamas was justified and all that kind of stuff. And Mamdani's defense is, well, she's a private person, it's not anyone's business.
Once you are elected and once you are in a role like this, people are going to be curious about your spouse, period, full stop. They're going to look through your social media. They're going to, and politically, yes, your spouse can be used against you.
Let's roll what Mayor Mamdani said when asked about the story in Jewish Insider and the Free Press and the New York Times about her liking the social media post you described. Here's Mayor Mamdani.
My wife is the love of my life, and she's also a private person who has held no formal position on my campaign or in my city hall. I, however, was elected to represent all 8.5 million people in this city, and I believe that it's my responsibility, because of that role, to answer any questions about my thoughts and my policies and my decisions.
Two quick things that I have to say before I go to you, Cenk. Number one, Jonah Goldberg, who was the gentleman commenting in the video that you were just watching, I found it fascinating that when he was discussing First Amendment rights, he decided to put that in scare quotes. Okay. The other person on that panel is Karen Finney. She's the former communications director for the DNC. This is what I have to say about the calls for Zohran Mamdani to essentially condemn his wife for liking posts that are based. Yeah, I said it, they're based. Trying to get someone to condemn their spouse in public because you're sensitive about criticism toward Israel is some of the most depraved, but also childlike behavior that I have witnessed myself personally. Okay, so when these gross Zionist organizations decided to target my husband because they realized, oh, we can't get Anna fired from TYT. Why don't we start going after her family members? By the way, he's not a public figure at all. Okay, and also not a political figure at all. You know what he was pressured to do repeatedly? To put out a statement condemning his wife. These people are so sick that they try to get in between people's marriages. That's how gross they are. Let me tell you something. Okay, I would never in a million years condemn loved ones, family members, and friends to appease a mob. But what's also really important to remember is that I certainly would never do it, even if my life depended on it, to appease a Zionist. Back to you, Cenk.
So most of the posts are very simple posts criticizing Israel.
It's anti-Israel.
Yeah,
it is. It's anti-Israel. Say it. It's okay.
Yeah. No. It's of course it's okay. But why was it anti-Israel? Just because she hates Israel for no reason, or as these liars and bigots would say, she hates Jews? No, she was legitimately criticizing specific actions in the middle of a horrific genocide, and they're like, how dare she? She should know no Muslim is allowed to criticize Israel's beloved genocide. Israel gets into a genocide. But if you dare complain about it, we found 1 out of 70. We don't like the word she used for the gulag. We'd like her to use a different word. So when the Israeli soldiers are raping the Palestinians, she should use the correct terminology over it. That's your big complaint? And on Mahmoud Halil, they're like, can you believe they're having Ramadan dinner with this Mahmoud Halil? Wait a minute, they didn't say a single thing that Halil had said wrong. Like Jake Tapper was like, at the least. And then Jonah Goldberg, his whole job in media is to smear anyone who's against Israel's wars and call them anti-Semites. And guys like that are brought onto panels like this. So in the past, they could unilaterally cancel people. Now they can't, and it's driving them crazy, right? But they would come, and the whole point of this panel is to say, Mahmoud Halil is a dirty Muslim. Mamdani is a dirty Muslim. His wife is an even dirtier Muslim. Condemn them all. But did you give any evidence of what Mahmoud Halil said? No, they did 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Halil talked to someone else, and then so he talked to someone else, and he said something I didn't like about Israel. That's what you got? And that's how you smeared all these Muslims? One of them who's the mayor of New York and the other one who's the wife of the mayor? They never gave any evidence outside of what we just told you, right? And they all assumed it. That's why I don't know who I should to be more mad at. I get Jonah Goldberg, right? His purpose is destroy all of Israel's enemies in American media. And by the way, if you don't know, he's one of the principal guys who pushed us into the Iraq war, right? Oh, America has to do it. Shut up and go to war. Oh, look, Israel's prime minister at the time said Iraq was their #1 enemy. Oh, what a coincidence. But if you complain, anti-Semite, that's it, cut his mic, eliminate him from media so there could be no Israel's critics. So I know Jonah Goldberg, I get it, right? And he's done this trick 1,000 times, right? But then there's Jake Tapper who invites him on to do that trick and have plausible deniability. Well, I didn't say anything. I mean, I said Halil is dirty Muslim, right? I didn't say those words, but I said, oh, he objects to Israel. Oh, terrible, terrible Halil. Why are you even doing this segment, right? And you bring on this propagandist because you love Israel's wars and you demand that America fights them, and you hate all Muslims and you want all Americans to hate the Muslims. So, oh, look at that. They happen to be Israel's neighbors, and Israel happens to want their land. So we're gonna tell you about how the dirty Muslims are the ones you should hate, and then wrap it up in, this is so deeply ironic, guys, in the guise of fighting against bigotry. Oh, we're worried about anti-Semitism being bigots against this poor little genocidal Israel. They were in the middle of slaughtering 20,000 children in Gaza. And these terrible bigots complained about it. Wait, isn't murdering the 20,000 children way more bigoted? Isn't cheerleading for that genocide way more bigoted against Muslims? They're like, yeah, but Muslim lives don't count. We're not gonna put a Muslim on that panel. We're not gonna put a single Palestinian supporter on that panel. Which brings me finally to Karen Finney. Karen Finney's job there is to be a patsy. She never once defended Mahmoud Halil or Mamdani or his wife, never once criticized Israel. Watch the whole segment. It was a painful 8.5 minutes. And Finney's like, oh yeah, they're all terrible, terrible, terrible. And I tell people, you know what? You shouldn't say terrible things like that because people could use it against you. Oh, I'm a Democrat, I'm trying to help Mamdani. Remember, you should shut your wife up and not let her say those terrible things against beloved Israel. Oh, thanks so much for helping us, Karen.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.